Welcome to the Legacy Through Land podcast, where we're dedicated to empowering you on your journey to land ownership and management. I'm Tyler Markham, your host, and each week we'll dive deep into the world of land investing, management strategies, and the transformative experiences tied to owning your very own piece of dream dirt. With our expert guests, inspiring stories, and actionable advice, we're committed to helping you become a better land manager, hone your investing skills, and start building your family's legacy through land. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. We hope you'll enjoy.
All right. I'm going to keep quoting my main man, Matt McConaughey. It's just my favorite intro, but what's going on, everybody? Thanks for coming back for another episode here. As always, I try to talk through what's going on in my world before we jump into our guests, and it's an exercise of remembrance. I don't even know how to describe this, but it's tough to try to remember what you've done every week. It feels like the same stuff, but we are neck deep in getting properties closed that we're working on buying. We've got properties that we are diligently working on putting food plots in. We are now here in the middle of July, getting everything sprayed and prepped. It's my favorite thing to do before we start putting in food plots is get them sprayed and prepped so that we can get a good seed bed and go in there. So we're going to be putting plots in a bunch of farms. I'm really excited about this fall. We've got a lot of big bucks. And honestly, if you're listening to this, this is zero sales pitch, I'll shoot them if you don't, but we have some really good bucks on our project farms that are for sale. We have some really good bucks. So just keep sleeping on them if that's what you're doing. But if you're actually looking for a piece of property, get a hold of us because we've got some real good stuff. So we've just started to close on some banger stuff. We've got some stuff we've just finished that's out on the market. We've got some stuff we're in mid-stride on. So just kind of everywhere in between. Yeah, and I've got a crazy update on my Illinois property that I'm just not quite ready to give the entire update, but there is definitely a curveball that's coming, and I think I'll do an entire podcast to talk through this. It's been an emotional journey for sure, so that may be next week's episode. But this week, we have the man, Kenny Davis from Whitetail Frenzy. And Kenny's a great dude. He's a West Virginia dude. Of course, you guys know if you've listened to me on the podcast, I'm from West Virginia originally. I've got a lot of connections there still and a lot of dudes that I know that love to kill big bucks. But Kenny's story, actually, I was able to interview him and hear for the first time some of his story when you guys get to hear it. I didn't know some of his backstory, and just the fact that Kenny was raised in hunting at a time frame when they hunted to literally fill the freezer in their family, to literally provide for the family. I don't think a lot of us can say that and actually mean it, that our family wouldn't eat if we weren't successful with our hunts, that we needed the meat that badly. And to hear that perspective from Kenny and just see what he's been able to do in the outdoor industry and create a very successful TV following and just a very successful career in front of a camera, it's been awesome to hear where that started from. So if you want to talk about an absolute start from nothing, work hard, try, fail, and adjust story to success, let's jump right into it. All right. Welcome back to the Legacy Through Land podcast. We're jumping right in. Probably, I didn't mention this to him on the beginning of this podcast, but probably one of the prettiest hunters that's ever come out of West Virginia today. So it's a real treat, everybody. If you're a woman watching, unfortunately, he already told us he's married and has kids. So out of the game. I love to have good jokes, but Kenny is a fun guy to watch. He doesn't have a face for radio. He's had a face for TV for a while. So if you don't already know Mr. Kenny Davis, welcome, my man, to the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You gotta watch. I always come up with a flavorful intro. So, it's just whatever comes off the hip pocket here. But real talk, Kenny and I, we've talked offline a little bit about just, what would we talk about here? And I know in Kenny's story, I know enough to know that there's a ton of chapters that involve the same trending themes that we have on this podcast all the time, like the grit and the hard stuff and the seasons that are hard and the life changes that are hard and just the stuff that leads him to where he's at today. So Full transparency, Kenny and I, we have a lot of mutual friends in the hunting space and in business and all that. We just haven't had the fortune of being able to connect personally a ton yet. So as much as you guys may think I already know the answers to these questions, I don't. These are going to be fun because I didn't let Kenny answer a ton of this offline. I said, let's just jump right in and we'll just have some fun together. So I'm going to get to know Kenny by the end of this, and hopefully he won't delete my contacts after this. And maybe you guys can get to know Kenny. And Kenny is, I would argue, the face or one of the faces of Whitetail Frenzy. And let's just jump right in, dude. Let's work backwards here to where are you at today? Is this where you call home? And let's go through kind of a backwards timeline to get to what excites you about what's going on in your life today and how we got there. So thanks, man.
Yeah, this is home. I'm at home right now. This is this wall back here. It's green because we use that for our green screen. We'll take down the mounts when we do stand-ups and stuff for the show. But this is my little office here at home in Hurricane, West Virginia. Been here for 16, 15 years, something like that. And Whitetail Frenzy isn't my full-time job. I work as a pharmaceutical rep. Well, I'm a medical device rep for a pharmaceutical company. But I think a lot of people watch the show and think that, everything's just kind of been handed to me along the way. And I have this national TV show and that's my full-time gig, but it's not. So
yeah,
that's me today in a nutshell.
I already didn't know some of this. We might have some mutual friends there in the pharmaceutical sales industry. So you're telling me that right out of the gate, Kenny, for all of us that have dreamed of having a show and just arriving at the echelon of just going and drawing blood and people just pay us millions of dollars and we just sit back and collect revenue. You're saying that that's like not actually how it works.
No, I mean, for some people, I think for me, it took a long time to grow the show and we've gotten to a point where I probably, I could do this full time. I could do this show full time, but I want to retire when I'm 50. So, plus when it started to take off around year 6, which we're in year 12 now, I told Julie, I said, I think it's time I'm going to quit my pharmaceutical job and just do the show. And she was like, no. She's like, you're going to keep working both, and I'm going to go back to 2 days a week. So now she only works 2 days a week, and I'm working 2 jobs.
Yeah, you're going to have to retire. You're going to have that stay-at-home mama before you get to be the stay-at-home dad as well.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not all like the part. It's great, but the glory that people thinks there is in it. It's not what people think for sure. At least not for me. Michael Waddell, yeah, sure, but not this guy.
Yeah, well, and Kenny, it's unfortunate. I don't know our age gap here. I'm 36, but if we were just born about 20 years prior in that era when the runway was there, it might have been a little bit simpler. I don't want to discredit anybody who's paved the path, like you just said, Waddell and the juries and any of the real trees. All the people we all know are the greats that have paved the path to, hunting celebrities. Now the barrier to entry seems to be smaller, and so that then waters the space down. And unfortunately, it takes longer for you to be noticed. I mean, it just does. I'm sure there's guys that aren't on your show that have amazing shows that are out there that it can't really rise to the top because I would argue the cream has already been formed.
Man, there's some people out there that have incredible content, like just do really good work and just don't get the opportunity. Because like anything, it's to come from nothing and do it like I did. Most of the people in the industry, when you look at Waddell or whoever it is, they had a major break from some major company, or they knew somebody, they had a major connection, or they came from a family with a lot of money to be able to back that business adventure. For guys like me that start from the ground up, that know nobody, that don't even know how to run a video camera, it's really tough. And even to get to that point, you have to have a good business plan. And it's more sales and marketing than it is hunting or even your ability to film and edit.
Yep, I would agree. I definitely would agree. So let's back up here. So how do we get to we kind of, there's a quick snapshot of the life of Kenny today, and I already didn't know that he's still wearing two hats, which I commend you for, but I know what you mean about rowing with both oars or burning the candle at both ends or however you want to say it. Take us back to childhood. Like, what gets you to where you're at today as far as your upbringing? And I'd love to talk through this family property and just the things that come to mind that have shaped you to love the outdoors like you do today.
Yeah, it's something I think where I came from, it was a pretty rough area to grow up. I grew up in Cabin Creek, West Virginia, 10 miles up that hollow. If my family ordered pizza, they had to drive 6 miles to meet the delivery guy, 10 miles to the gas station. And I'm not joking when I say that. That's
no DoorDash up there.
Yeah, so, there were, one of my Little League baseball teams, there were 11 kids on the team. And by the time I was 35, 6 of those 11 kids were no longer alive, all due to drug or alcohol related events. So, I saw a lot growing up. I saw one of my best friends, I saw him lose his life. I saw him take his last breath at 14 years old. And, that was tough. But the one thing I had is my parents didn't have much. We didn't have very much money. And hunting back then was, it was something we loved and we did it, but we really needed the food, right? We all wanted to kill a big buck, but if a spike came rolling through and it's legal, we're not passing up a chance, to put meat in the freezer. But my childhood, there was a purpose of hunting other than just us having fun and going out, and enjoying it. But, growing up there, I think hunting and fishing, sports, having a family a loving family. And then, I was introduced to God and church at an early age. And I think those factors is kind of really, those things really what helped get me out of there. And I shouldn't say get me out of there like it's a bad
I know what you
place,
mean.
but it was a
give you a chance
to grow up. And I think without all those, I wouldn't have had an opportunity. And I think just growing up there, man, it instills a lot. If you can get through it, it instills a lot of grit. You learn how to handle adversity. You learn how to get through life. And it was definitely good for me.
It's already just an amazing perspective, Kenny, because I don't know, I certainly wouldn't have had to say that hunting was introduced to me to create stability for my family. I mean, I don't know how many people can share that perspective of this is literally feast or famine, and we're going to become hunters to help provide for the family. Like a lot of us hunters, and I'm just going to go and throw us all under the bus. We use this, heroic, we're going out and filling our freezer. Like, let's mostly get real. You don't need to shoot a doe. I tell my wife the same thing, guys. I love the argument. I'm with you all the way. I tell my wife the same thing, and then we don't eat the deer every year, and then we do it all over again. So I get it. But you're saying you legit had to do that. Yeah. It wasn't like we're not going out and anticipating the hunt for, like you said, a big buck. We're not anticipating where these deer will show up and how they might hit a scrape. You're anticipating how do we drag one home?
Yeah, it was that we were using the neck meat. We were using the ribs. We were using everything. I learned how to skin deer and quarter them and pack them out. I learned all that stuff at a really young age. I think now, like, I try to teach my son that, but I'm like, man, my dad would kill a deer. I'd be 11 years old, and he'd hang it in the garage and be like, all right, skin the deer. I'm 11 years old out there. I already know cutting the meat off, skinning the deer, and I'm carrying the meat into the house. My mom's at the table cutting it up. And then when I finish, then I'm in there, me and my mom, my sister, we're all like in there packaging the deer meat together. And yeah, it was a lot different.
Dude, it's so good though. I mean, I obviously feel the weight of the heaviness of what that season was like for you, but yeah, I mean, look where it shaped you. Like, look how it shaped you. And yeah, I will openly say I can't relate to that level. And I'm going to guess very few on this podcast can. And if you can relate, hit the dude up. You need to start watching Kenny. So Kenny, it sounds like drastic. We have a drastic ramp to build here where not only, and I'm going to ask this, not only could you have chosen at a young age to say, look, this isn't fun. This isn't fun to me. It's work. This is necessity. This is need. It's heavy, right? It's not fun. We're not having fun doing this. We're creating fulfillment in our family. how do you, if you can put your finger on it, how do you transition, or did you always just still love the game?
I think for me, are you talking about how I transitioned from that to continue loving it?
Yeah, I mean, it just, how do you, obviously, Kevin, you don't want to shoot deer and film and love the sport if it was just to fill a freezer. How do you transition to, I love this, or was that just always there, even though it was hard?
So I think early on, it was my childhood. My dad was pretty rough. Like, he was one of those guys. He was a coal miner, but my dad, he was a hemophiliac. He was a free bleeder. So he was in and out of work a lot. So he didn't have the income most coal miners had, because there were times he was in the hospital, times he had to be off. But he was very hardcore. Like I always said, my dad's hands were like the hardest things I've ever felt in my life, So my dad was really rough, but like football and hunting and fishing were things like my dad would help coach my youth football team when he had a chance. And football and fishing, like when I think about my childhood memories with my dad's passed away 7.5 years ago. Like those were the things, and I think because he was so rough on us, like I always wanted to make him proud. Like I always was pushing hard, And I think just through that and the memories that I shared with my dad, and those were kind of like the good times, right? Those were the good memories.
Yeah.
There were some not so good memories, but those were the good ones. And I think just seeing how I related to him and how he taught me to incorporate God and creation into that. I just always felt closer to God, and I always felt, that was something I did with him. There was a cool story about shooting birds when I was a kid that is crazy, but that
I'm ready. I already want to hear it. Let's go. I want to hear the bird story.
Put things in perspective for me. I was, 9, 10 years old, pellet rifle.
And by the way, Kenny is not allowed to incriminate himself, anybody. The statute has run. So.
Yeah, I was out on the creek bank shooting birds with a pellet rifle, just on the edge of the yard. We had this little section of woods went down through there by the creek, and I was shooting birds. And I went in the house, and my dad was we lived in this double-wide trailer. He was back in the bed, and he yelled at me to come back there. And I came back there, and he said, I saw you out on the creek bank. He said, you shooting birds? I said, yeah, I was shooting blackbirds. And he's like, what'd you do with them? And I was like, I just left them there. What do you want me to do with them? He's like, well, I said, you got to understand, son. He's like, that those birds were alive. He said, every animal, everything here was something created by God. And when you take a life, it's special. Like, you took something special. And if you're going to kill a bird, then you need to make sure that we utilize the meat or utilize it somehow. To just shoot it and leave it lay is not what you should do. He said, you need to think about that. So I've thought about that my whole life. And I think, like, whether I go to Canada, a lot of people, they go to Canada and they hunt and they kill animals. They don't care. They're going for the trophy. They don't care what happens to the meat. I go up there and I kill a bear. I'm like, no, we're skinning it and getting the meat. The guy's like, no, let's leave it till tomorrow. I'm like, no, the meat's not going to be good. He said, you want the meat? I'm like, yeah, I want the meat. I was like, I'm not killing this bear and not utilizing the meat. But I think just things like that, things that my dad instilled into me about hunting and creation and God, it was huge. And that's where, for me today, that's one of the things I love the most about hunting. When I'm out there before the sun rises and it's dark, and you see the sunrise, you see everything light up, you hear the birds start chirping, you hear a squirrel coming down a tree, you hear a deer walking that you can't even see yet. Like, you get to witness God's creation come to life. And go to New York City, there's 8 million people that'll probably never see that once in their life. And it's a special thing. And I think sometimes as hunters, we take that for granted. We get so focused on the kill that we lose out on the things that are pure and great with hunting.
Amen. It's Kenny, it's so hard for me to put my finger on it, but what I tell my friends that are not hunters and that haven't experienced what you just said, that I intimately resonate with, is everything in my life that I want to change, and I love change, and I chase things, and the world changes, technology changes, development and land changes, the space changes, things change, and every time we go to God's creation and you feel that cold breeze on your back and you hear that crow and it's a mid-November, nothing has changed out there. Nothing.
Yeah.
And he is the protector of that. And it's so, to me, just that is sacred. You know, that is sacred to try and keep in a world that constantly changes. We go to a place where there is no change. Now, yeah, of course, the land can change a little, but you know what I mean? Overall, year in, year out, we get to experience the same from God. And yeah, man, I intimately resonate. So I have to back up a second. We've always heard this saying, I'm going to eat crow now. So did you eat the crow? We have to know.
I stopped shooting the birds.
Okay. I was going to say, what's the lesson here? How does crow meat taste?
And I've never shot another one since. Like turkeys and grouse and things like that. But as far as just birds, regular birds, I've never shot another one since. That was it.
I didn't get to tell you this before we started, Kenny, but my parents divorced when I was 3, and I'm an example of about the greatest divorce I think you could have as far as being co-raised. But my dad lived in Charleston, and he lived in Kanawha State Forest up a hollow right before when you enter the forest. You know probably where I'm talking. You can take these back roads to Marmette.
Yes.
From his house. He was the last house on a little road in Kanawha State Forest. If you go left at the entrance, there's a little hollow back there with some houses. He was the last one. And in that era, Kenny, when I grew up out there, every weekend I was spending time riding dirt bikes, being in the forest, whatever. It's so wild. I didn't hunt there. My grandpa had a farm in Ravenswood, West Virginia, and I always hunted there, but I never hunted in the forest. It's wild. I didn't, but I was young. I wasn't driving a vehicle yet. So, I remember though, Kenny, this was back when you didn't have cell phones. And when people would go back in there and go mudding and they would go towards Cabin Creek and all this, they get stuck. Well, guess this is the first house they get to, hey, can I borrow your phone? And I'd be out in the yard and these people would just be walking into the yard at my dad's house, like, you know, looking like a strange scenario here, like, you know, rough. And hey, can I borrow your phone? I'm like, you're gonna have to talk to my dad. I'm 8. Like, I don't even know, you know, what's going on. But so when you say Cabin Creek, I can resonate with some of that where I remember being so far back. I got a flat tire on a dirt bike one time, and I mean, we were miles back. We might as well have been in Shillian or somewhere. I mean, we were way, and I started thinking, how in the world do we even get out of here, man? Like, we are in nowhere, like real nowhere. So I can resonate with that much, but wasn't having to kill to fulfill the freezer, man. So you know, you talked about your dad in that story with the birds and how that has shaped, you know, and your dad, he sounds so much like my grandpa was who kind of raised me in hunting, and he was the exact same way, really hard nosed. I mean, really tough hands. He could out-pound a 16-pound, you know, sledgehammer. When I was like 20 years old, he could walk circles around me with that thing. Just man's man. Don't pay anybody to fix anything. You fix it yourself. You know, man's man. Mm-hmm. And he was the same way with hunting and meat, and you know, taught me how to skin things and how to just take a rabbit and, you know, just shoot and all these things that you talk about. But I saw through his lens, just like you did with your dad, I saw this love for the outdoors. Even if he wouldn't admit it, I saw the beauty of the love that he had for the outdoors. And he was the one that instilled that in me. So it's amazing to see through your story that you're saying you did this for fulfillment of, you know, family necessity, but you still, through that clouded lens of we're doing this even for fulfillment, you could see the joy and you could see the purity of God's creation and how much joy that gave you.
Yeah. So we loved it. I mean, we needed the food, but it was still something that we loved. You know, the love has always been there.
So growing up, you know, at what point you had said earlier, we're probably talking, when did you get into filming hunts?
So not until after college. So I went to West Virginia State, graduated there with a criminal justice degree, and I started playing arena football. I play arena football in the winter, spring, and semi-pro football in the summer, fall. And
what position? Now I'm curious.
Wide receiver.
Okay.
Wide receiver. So I had a good career. And I did.
Is there some blackmail we can pull up on you there?
What's that?
You got any YouTube blackmail we can pull up or anything?
No, I don't know about blackmail, but there's some good stuff.
Highlight reels?
Yeah, there's some good stuff. I was a first team All-American receiver one year. I made all conference every year I was in college. So I did well, but through that, my goal was to go to the NFL so I'd have enough money to start my own hunting show. And so that didn't work out for me. But I had to take another route and invest in myself, and didn't have the NFL money to do it, so it made it a little tougher.
So you're saying what I just heard is the initial plan you had didn't work out, and my listeners already know where I'm going. It didn't work out, so you just never did the hunting thing, never went and filmed or anything because your first plan didn't work out, right?
Well, no, I went and filmed. I just didn't have the money to just say, all right, I'm going to buy $90,000 in airtime and pay somebody to film for me every week and pay somebody to produce, and I'm just going to go hunt. That was the hope, but
well, and I mean, I asked a bad question. The point is, you didn't quit at that point.
No.
You said, well, first plan didn't work out, so you had to make another plan to get after what you wanted to create. So this is amazing. I didn't know any of this stuff, and I'm wondering, Kenny, how, like in the inner circle of Kenny's world, when you shoot a big buck and the first 10 guys get a text, did they all know you were arena football great? Is this a known thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of my close friends know. Yeah.
Okay.
They
I didn't know this. You said playing ball earlier. I was going to guess baseball.
Yeah.
So.
No.
That's awesome, dude. That's good stuff. I actually toured West Virginia State. You can laugh. This was my first college tour in high school, was going down to West Virginia State. And honestly, I was like, so if this is what college is like, I think I'm out. Like there's nothing here, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So I didn't go to West Virginia State, but yeah. Now hold on a second. I might have this wrong. Is West Virginia State in Montgomery?
No, that's West Virginia Tech.
That's Tech. Okay. All right.
That's Tech.
Dude, I went down and was like, I don't think there's like a Taco Bell here, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
that's Tech.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
No,
never
State's
mind.
a little closer to everything, and a much nicer spread out campus too. Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the second plan? You said you had to invest in yourself, and this is amazing. You knew you wanted to have a hunting show. How early?
Yeah.
If you can remember.
Childhood dream. My childhood dream was, I wanted to play football, and I wanted to have a hunting show. So I played football till I was close to 30, and now it was time to try to figure out how to have a hunting show. And I knew that everybody was trying. Not everybody, but a lot of people trying to do it.
I know what you mean.
Tons of people, right? All these people going to companies asking for sponsorships. And I'm just like, okay, how are we different, right? How if a company were to ask me, and I think everybody doing it should, or trying to do it should have a good answer for this question. If a company were to ask me, why should I partner with you? There's tons of people coming in here. Why should I give my money to you, right? Well, I kill big bucks. Well, so does everybody else, right?
Right.
So, I felt like one, at the time, the niche for us, I felt, was like killing big bucks in the Appalachian region. Like I'd been on YouTube, I'd look, and maybe I wasn't, but I feel like I was the first person to ever take a Pope and Young deer on film in the state of West Virginia. I don't think anyone ever done it before me. I never saw it, at least not with a bow for sure. And it became consistent. We're doing this consistent, and I'm like, okay, we have something to niche. Everybody watching TV is like, oh, all these hunting shows are going to outfitters. I'd like to see them hunt like a real person. So I'm thinking to the general public, to the viewer, like, man, we can put something together they'll like, because we're hunting just like they are. We're just going out in the mountains, going out local areas or surrounding states, DIY hunts, and that was our focus. So I felt like that part was covered, but still, how do we get companies to partners? So I got a group of guys together to kind of all, hey, yeah, heck yeah, I want to be on a TV show, to all buy into not financially really buy in per se to the business, but to buy into the idea. So instead of going out, and I think this is the biggest mistake people make, they'll go to companies and ask for discounts or product. I'm like, okay, if we get in the door with them, then it gives us a chance to show them what we could do.
Yep.
I don't think that's a good way to go, because what happens is there's 1,000 other people doing that for them too. If they give you a discount, say on a bow at 30% or 40%, they're selling you that bow the same price they sell it to a dealer. All right. They're making the same money off you, and you're advertising for them for free, even if you only have 1,000 followers, right? If you have 1,000 followers and they do it with 50 other people with 1,000 followers, they sold 50 bows and they just reached 50,000 followers. So, and they got paid to do it. So once you come back and then you say, hey, all right, I've been doing this for you all money, they're going to just go to the next guy that's going to do it for product. You can't set your value at doing something for free if you feel like there's value in your work. So for us, I didn't do that. You see this shirt, Blocker Outdoors. We've been partnered with Blocker. It took us a couple years once I got started to get in. But we started wearing Scent Blocker. It was Scent Blocker then, not Blocker Outdoors. We started wearing Scent Blocker before we started. The bow company that we were with then, Trail Cameras. As a group, we collaborated and said, okay, these are the products that we feel are the products we want to use because we like the products and believe in the products. We went out and bought those products. No discounts, no free products. We went out, we filmed for a year. And then I bought local airtime on a Fox station on Saturday mornings.
Let's go. Hold on. Pause you a second. What era would this be? Just so I can.
What
time frame? Yeah.
So this is season 12 of Whitetail Frenzy. So
and that's amazing, dude.
So this would have been 13 years ago.
Okay.
So we bought the airtime. I went to local businesses, sold commercials to cover the spots. And then we produced these DVDs to try to get to the sponsors, right? So we're everything's going okay. We're going to ATA. And so the guy helping me make the DVDs was in Parkersburg, Elijah Bennett. I go up to Parkersburg, like I killed this drop tine in West Virginia. And it was like great hunt. I mean, it was a really nice deer.
Is
and
it
I'm
on
like,
your background?
Man, that's like the featured hunt. And it, for some reason, it wasn't on there. So he ends up coming to my house that night. We're up all night trying to fix it, get it figured out, and then get it to where we could put it on a DVD. And so the next morning, like 6 a.m., we leave driving to Louisville to ATA. We got a computer with a DVD burner in the back of my truck. Hey, we got the little stick-on DVD labels. We got the cases with the little slide-ins.
Yes, sir.
And then we figured out that it wouldn't play on a regular DVD. It had to be Blu-ray. So,
I remember this era, dude.
Yeah,
I remember this era, man.
Yeah, so I go to ATA and I find out who the president of Winchester Archery was. Just did some research, found out what he looked like, his name. And I knew he'd probably be there. I'm hoping he was there because we were shooting Winchester bows, and which they had an archery division at the time, which later got bought by the Outdoor Group and became, so that's how we got in with Elite Archery, which we've been with ever since. But anyway, so this guy, people's talking to him the whole time. And I'm sitting there with my brother, a couple of my guys. My brother's like, man, you're standing here like an idiot. He said, I feel stupid. He said, you're making me feel weird. He said, dude, go talk to him or something. I said, no, I don't want to interrupt. So as soon as I saw like he had to know what I was talking to him, I went there, introduced myself. And I was like, hey, I said, look, I'm not asking you for anything. I'm not asking for anything, but we have a DVD here with 26 kills on this DVD, all from your bow. I said, we're starting a TV show, and I feel like I've done enough work and we're already running it on local TV. I feel like I've done enough work on my end that I should at least be able to ask you to watch this, and I feel like you owe that to me. So he goes, they got this little cabin set up. Sometimes they had more elaborate booths.
I've been to ATA a bunch, and you're talking back in the heyday, by the way. You would agree. The ADA back then, dude, was like ginormous.
Yeah, way different.
Not what it is now. Yeah, carry on. This is so good because I've literally, dude, vividly remember this era. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So what happens?
He takes me to this tote, and he opens this tote. And it's full of DVDs and media kits. He said, that's just from today. Oh. He's like, you think I have time to go through all that? And he said, do you know how many emails and calls we get every single day? He's like, but he's holding that DVD. And he went like this. He said, but you know something? He walked over and he popped open a briefcase and he put it in there and he shut it. And he said, I'm going to watch this one. And I'm like, God, that's awesome. So that worked out. Well, then...
Dude, let's go. I'm already getting fired up. I'm going to throw my cup.
I see Lee and Tiffany, and they're walking.
I've never heard of them. Who?
Yeah, I'd never met them, at that point. And so they're walking, they're cutting through these booths because on the other side, there's this table and there's a huge line of people. They're having like an autograph
to have
session.
them sign. Yep.
All right. So about the time they get to their table, I'm coming in from the back. And I got in right between them. And there's all this big line of people that's been waiting forever to see them. And I introduced myself to them, but I didn't know there was that line. I didn't know where they were going, so I felt bad, but I was already there. So I introduced myself real quick, and I'm like, hey, and I had this DVD, and I stuck it in Tiffany's purse. I'm like, hey, I was like, I have this DVD. I said, look, it won't work on a regular DVD player, but like, man, we're new, just trying to make connections. And I was like, but it'll work on a Blu-ray. And Lee's like, you know what? He's like, we have Blu-ray in our motorhome. He said, we'll watch it tonight. I'm like, all right, good to meet you guys, and headed out. I don't know if they remember that, but I mean, it's been a long time ago. Probably not with the amount of people they met, but
that's so good though.
2 weeks later, I get a president from Tim Barber, the president of Winchester at the time, or Winchester Archer, and he calls me and said, "Hey, who do I make this check out to?" I said, "What check?"
Well, hold on.
For $4,000.
Is that the guy?
No contract.
Is that the guy you?
And I'm like, that was really cool. So it ended up, I mean, that and scent blocker and just the way we did it, and it just really took off. And so the next year we're on national TV, primetime Sportsman Channel, and backing up a little bit before then. So a few months after that, Tim Barber calls and he says, "Hey."
And was Tim who you met with, by the way? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I wanted to make sure.
He calls and he says, "Hey, we're meeting with corporate, and we decide we want to have our own archery show to promote, Winchester bows, promote the archery line and crossbows." He's like, "Love what you're doing." He's like, "Would you be open to running it? And you keep doing what you're doing. You keep your team, and you run it, and we'll get this thing on national TV." So that's how we got the Sportsman Channel. Then we got there, and then allowed other doors to open to bring in more sponsors and the first 5 or 6. So that only was good for a year. Winchester went bankrupt, and Winchester Archery, their division, got bought by the Outdoor Group. They owed the network like $45,000 or something. So in order for me to stay airtime, I had to go ahead and front the network $10,000. And and so look, you got to think. So then everything was more expensive. So to run the show with the airtimes, then about $150,000 to run the show for 6 months. That's not me getting paid. That's not any travel, any license, nothing. That's straight airtime, production, closed captioning, music, all that. And I'm just like, man, $10,000. So I did it. And the thing is though, $10,000, I signed the contract, gave them the $10,000 to get me the airtime. And now it's like, okay, I got $140,000 of sponsorship money that I have to bring in. And, we were at the time like nickeling and diming, just trying to get $2,000 here, $3,000 there. So it was a huge risk. I mean, you imagine like if I don't bring in that sponsorship money, then, well, at least 90,000, right? The contract was 140. I think it was 85,000 or something was what the airtime was then for 6 months. But still, it's $85,000. And I'm like, if I don't get enough sponsorship money, I still have to pay that. Like legally, I'm screwed. So when I got that kind of pressure on my shoulders, it really I was 3 a.m., 4 a.m. on the computer doing research, like sending emails, creating like marketing media kits and things. Like just it was a stressful 4 or 5 years, man. But it finally year 5 or 6 really started to take off.
So, dude, this is so good, and it reminds me of I listened to a podcast a while back with Chris Brackett, and he was talking about some of that era. That you buy your TV time, man. Like you sign up, the noose is on your neck, buddy, and it's going to tighten whether you want it to or not.
Yeah,
you pay for it. And he was like, I don't know a lot of people paying for this airtime like up front. Like they don't even know if they're going to have kills, or they don't even know what they're going to have. They're paying for this stuff. And how much that, like he was talking about Aero Affliction and, some of his story was just this dude, like you've said, going out and paving a path, figuring it out, trying to get sponsors to come on board and just continuing to push forward. Dude, that's amazing. So it's nice because the people that have just said, well, I wish I could have a show like Kenny. And, if I could have a show, I could be famous too. Well, they weren't getting up at 3 a.m. sending media packets and trying to find sponsors and putting their commitment down. I mean, it's just, dude, the thing that I see so much, and it's obviously, it's evident in every industry, but in the outdoor industry, there is this giant misconception about what it takes to actually be fed financially by something related to the outdoors. There's a giant divide to me of what that work takes. Who would go and cut line inadvertently? Who would go and cut line to throw their DVD in Tiffany's purse? Who would go build a DVD in their car on the way to ATA? I remember these eras. I remember I was touring in a band at that time frame, and CDs and the same thing, dude. You were trying to get your stuff in front of anybody that you could. It didn't matter. Making that CD cover, making sure everything's legit. You're handing this stuff out at ATA. I mean, at that time frame, that was the way you networked. I mean, you had to have your media there. This was the time to strike, or you were just there shaking hands for nothing. You weren't leaving them with any lasting impression. So, dude, hearing him say, "Look at all these DVDs, but I'll watch yours." You know, like that's those moments where like it's like the linchpin in the trajectory of your career, you know, like that. Had that not happened the way it did, had you not been forward the way you were, like you always have to wonder where would it have gone.
I do all the time. I wonder, like, you know, what if he wouldn't have watched that DVD? You know what I mean? That was like the one big thing when I think about everything that got the show to where it is. That is the one big thing that it really needed to give it that little jump start.
I want to ask these questions backwards next, but because right now I'd love to know what was a hunt that, you know, really got you started, but pause that in your brain. Stepping back to, we've talked about the Waddells and the greats in the industry. If you can remember, Kenny, was there somebody you more intimately followed than others that was kind of your hero in the outdoor industry at an early age?
No, not really. I don't think there was anything.
Just everybody?
Anyone specifically. You know, I will say, though, the one guy that I always liked that I felt like as just personality and the way he carried himself, you know, I related to a lot. And not in every way, but in a lot of ways. And that was Whitetail. And the cool thing about him is I've got to talk to him quite a few times, and he is the same way. Like he's a really good dude. I think he's great for the industry, and he's really humble. And I don't think, like, as big of a name and as big of a brand as he has, that there's no ego. And that's really cool.
Yep. See, Kenny's getting those texts. Hey, man, these food plots got to get sprayed. We're not going to get this stuff done without. Where are you?
I got a new phone. I put it on silent mode. I don't know what's going on. It's all.
Hey, I joked with Kenny. You can find an outdoorsman when you find a bad internet connection or software issues or phone service issues.
I'm gonna have to fix that because that can't be dinging in the woods like that.
Well, it's on the top left.
Yeah.
Left button. Just hold it.
Hold on, look.
Well, hold on, but was that your computer, my man?
Oh, yeah. That's what it is. It's not even my phone.
Well, and it's tough. Yeah, we'll hijack everybody so they can learn as well.
What we're doing here is we're doing a instruction video on how to be able to have meetings. I don't know how to turn that off.
It's fine, dude. Let's just keep running. Just if it's your wife, just tell her I'm busy, you know? So, all right, I said I'd ask this backwards, but you kind of said the same answer I would have, which is, Waddell probably is way up there as far as somebody to emulate and has had a very good career in the outdoor world. Not a lot of negative noise, just a really solid dude, solid career. And I don't want to speak like it's over. He's definitely still got an active career, but I kind of followed everybody as well. And back and I would call it that early 2000s. I remember, Kenny, this is all just so funny. DVD era, kids, if you're listening to this and you didn't have the DVD era, you really missed out, because for my entire, probably from like 12 years old to, this is going to date me, 28 years old, whenever DVDs quit. Every year we would go to Myrtle Beach as a family for like Memorial Day weekend, long weekend. And usually, Kenny, all those hunting companies had just released their newest DVDs. Like that was the time frame. Well, I joke about it today. I'm like, you guys want to go to Bass Pro so I can buy all the Drury DVDs and I can buy all the Hunter specialties and the Monster Buck 66 and the Arrow Affliction, whatever it was, dude. I mean, I was buying like hundreds of dollars of DVDs and I would binge watch those DVDs on vacation. Like I didn't care that we were at Myrtle Beach. I knew that's when all the DVDs came out. And it's just funny. I still joke about it now. Like, I want to go buy DVDs. Like, That's not a thing anymore.
I remember back in the day, the early days of the hunting TV, Buckmasters and Realtree, and they couldn't even show the kill shot. It would show the animal, and then right at the shot, the camera would go to the hunter, like shooting the gun or shooting the bow, and then it would show the animal like running off after impact. And I was always so mad that you couldn't see the impact. That was the greatest thing they ever did when they started allowing the arrows and bullets to show actually impact.
Yeah, that's probably about when Chris Brackett took off as well, because he definitely had some affliction for sure. But it's just funny when you say that era. That's exactly what I think of, is still buying those Jury Outdoor DVDs and buying the Monster Bucks and buying everybody's, dude. If you had a DVD there, I was buying it. Like if it was new, I was buying it. Hit me up if you want my DVD collection to someone who still has a player. But so fast forward, what has you excited this fall? Like there's some stuff Kenny and I would love to, we're going to make sure we talk about with bringing kids into this outdoors and all that. And maybe this is the time we go there, but what has you excited this fall? Where are you going to be? And what does this fall look like for Frenzy and yourself?
So I have I've been going to Colorado every year, elk hunting, and I've been very successful. But Colorado with the getting rid of the OTC tags, me like an idiot, I haven't been putting in points anywhere because I've been spoiled. I got a great place to hunt in Colorado, great area, and get the tags over the counter. So this year I'm going to Saskatchewan during late September for a combination moose and elk hunt. I'm pretty excited about that. I've taken a couple moose, but they've both been with a rifle. I've taken lots of elk with a bow. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to take a rifle and try to get the elk down as quick as I can. That way I can try to finally get a moose down with a bow. But I'm hunting with First Nations out there. So we're on reservation land. So I don't have to really worry about the seasons as far as when's it bow season, when's it rifle season. I can hunt with whatever I want, which makes it nice.
Amazing. I guess dive into that. I'm dumb here. What do you mean by reservation land?
So First Nations, Native, call them Native Americans here. I guess you call them Native Americans or Native Canadians up there. I don't know. But
natives.
Natives. They go by First Nations. They're different. Like I guess we would call them tribes. They call them bands, and they have just millions of acres of reservation land. I think the First Nations outfit that I hunt with, they're like 4 million or 3 million acres, something crazy like that. And they only have, I think, 3 or 4 outfitters on all of that land.
Sheesh. And you're saying they don't really have to, they don't go by the same governing system of season dates.
They don't. So you don't even have to have an actual license to hunt with them. So they have what'll happen is, so they'll get, like for their whitetail season, each one of the outfitters within that First Nations group will get an allotment of tags. So they get like 21 tags, and then they could sell all 21 tags to you if they wanted to. Like Saskatchewan's a 1-buck province, but if you hunt with a First Nations group, if they, like the outfitter I hunt with, they'll only usually book 15 or 16 hunters. That way, if they have hunters kill early, they have extra tags, and they'll just sell them to their current hunters that are there. So. Like I took my son to Saskatchewan this past year, and he killed 2 in 3 days. two huge bucks, 3 days.
That's amazing. I didn't know this.
Yeah. So like anything, you want to do your research. I've found through my years of hunting, in which I'll usually go on a couple outfitter hunts a year. The best ones are the ones without elaborate websites. When you find elaborate websites,
watch
all
out.
These great pictures, because the ones that are good, they don't have to have that, because their hunters come back and they tell other hunters.
There you go.
But anyway, that's my probably one and only trip this fall. I'll go to South Carolina and hunt first 2 days of their season in mid-August. I may even go to Tennessee during that velvet season for 2 or 3 days. But once outside of that elk and moose hunt, once our season gets in September, I'll be West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia, just DIY hunts the whole year, and that'll be it.
Amazing. So you said the Buckeye State. I was going to ask you if you've spent much time in Ohio. I know, Kenny, you've killed a pile of deer in West Virginia. So I'm curious, is the majority of your members on the show in West Virginia, and the majority of your whitetails are from West Virginia, or how would you equate it?
Definitely. I would say West Virginia would be 1, Ohio would be 2, Kentucky would be 3 as far as where they come from. For me, I've definitely, I don't know, probably I've killed more in Kentucky probably than Ohio. I've just never had a lot of areas to hunt in Ohio. And I shouldn't say I don't have areas to hunt, because there's tons of public land.
Right.
But I have hunted and I've killed a few really nice deer in Ohio over the years.
There's no big deer in Ohio. So, yeah.
It's a different ballgame when you cross the river. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's no big deer over here. I just want to disclose that real quick. So you said this fall, obviously going to Saskatchewan has you excited. And is you said it's right, Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's during late September, and I coach youth football. So I called the league, or the president.
So we have a problem.
The board. Like, hey man, look, how much control do you have over the schedule? And he's like,
oh my gosh, you're changing the schedule,
make some things happen. I'm like, look, man, I need you, if you can, to make sure that the Hurricane Youth Football bye week is the last weekend in September.
You guys heard it here.
He said, let me see what I can do. So for all the parents that are mad when the bye weeks occurred, I might have had something to do with that.
He's like, gosh, I have no control, guys. I hate it as bad as you do. But
well, he called me a couple weeks later, and he said, I got you hooked up. So that allows me to be able to take off and be gone that weekend.
Now I'm curious, you're not a school teacher, but are you doing like Phil on The Hangover, and you're telling everybody they have to pay for the field trip, and that's going to help go towards your Saskatchewan hunt?
That's a good idea.
This football field trip is expensive, guys.
Yeah.
Man, that's good stuff. So anything outside of Saskatchewan, you got any whitetails without telling us where they are? He'll tell me offline, everybody. But anything you're excited about this year that's got you edgy?
I think things have started to change for me a lot personally with hunting, because I've taken so many big deer over the years, and I love it. But to harvest big deer consistently here the way I have, I mean, it's an enormous amount of work. And I'm not saying I'm not going to have another great year this year. I've just gotten to where, with the show, really, we partner with the state of West Virginia now with the DNR, and we do so many different events with the DNR officers and kids. And my primary focus now is getting some of these kids who may not have the opportunity to hunt, getting them out there. And we do events where we'll go in and we'll stock a stream, like a private stream. We did it at David Miller's.
Yeah.
We're going to do it at an area this fall where we stock a pond full of trout, bring in the kids and their families, camp for the weekend, provide food, do firearm safety, let them trout fish. A lot of them, never caught a trout. A lot of them never killed a deer. A lot of them during the spring when we do it never harvested a turkey. So to see those kids get out there and get them out there and try to explain to them how God plays a role in that, and connecting with God, and get them out there and enjoying the outdoors. The thing is, right, I can go out and I can kill a big buck. That doesn't change anybody's life. Not at all. Like, I can put that on TV and you can watch it. Man, that's great. And a lot of people, you'll get 20, 30 minutes of good entertainment out of it. But it doesn't change a life. But if I can take a kid and their family and get that kid starting in hunting and fishing, and then that kid chooses that as an outlet in life and stays out of drugs or whatever it may be, and then you're impacting potentially their future and how, what role they play in society. But not only them, when you get them hooked, when they have kids, you're impacting your actions, multi-generational, the next generation, and you may never even meet them. Yep. So for me, it's all been about how, over the years, how can we use this platform to grow and to do good. And there were so many times over the years where it was just like you said, you buy the airtime. It's expensive. Like you're doing all this work. It's hard to make money. It's like times that, can I do it? I'm ready to quit. And there were people that I met along the way. And I feel like sometimes that God put those people in my life for a reason, because I call them and like vent. It's like, I'm done. Like I can't do it anymore. And they would talk me out of it. And then within a week or two, something would happen and I would catch a break. I'm like, oh God, I'm glad I didn't quit. But I always, tried to understand why, like I felt like there was a purpose behind Whitetail Frenzy. Like most of the viewers and people that follow us will never know the amount of grit and how hard it was and just the things that I had to go through to keep this thing going. And really it was like, man, there's no way this kept going through that by chance, right? Yeah, there was a lot of hard work. There was a lot of grit, but I felt like there was a purpose. And then we started doing more stuff with kids and with the DNR in the state. And I'm like, that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's it. Like, that's how we can take our show and give back and change people's lives. That's a lot better than killing a big deer. So as excited as I am to get out and chase big deer this fall, I'm more excited about what we're able to do with kids and the community here in the state.
Amen, dude. That's so good. It's so empowering, and it's something that I need to do a better job of in my own company. There's ways that I could make an impact that, like you have said, could be a ripple effect, multi-generational, to not just teaching a kid how to be in the outdoors, but honestly, I've got friends, like I'm in a small group at my church, and I've got friends that have come up to me that are men you and I's age that are like, I'd love to get into hunting. I've never, they just haven't been around it. They have kids. So it's not just getting their kids into it. It's like they want to do it too. And yet it can feel intimidating to me because we get so immersed in these whitetailisms and, well, I'd love to show you, but I can't take you to that farm because there's a big buck there. And you start overthinking like, hey man, it didn't start this way for you. Like it didn't start this way for you, and it's not fair to someone else to say, hey, this is, you only can hunt on this section here and only enter on a northwest wind. Like, let them go mess up sometimes. Let them go do some things and just experience God. Yeah. They'll probably kill a 6-point and be way more organically jacked than you were to try and get them to kill something they have no understanding of. Right? Man, it's empowering, dude. It's something I need to do a better job of as well. So, we can talk offline more about this, but I'd love to get involved in anything you're doing. And I've told Bobby as well over at Beyond the Backyard, I'd love to get involved if there's any way I can, and partnering and helping in any way. So we'll talk more about that. I would love to connect though, with that and be able to help give with you and give back. That's good stuff. It kind of segues right to what I was going to ask you next. And you had said earlier, so Kenny's a dad, he's got some kiddos as well. And you said your son was successful there in Saskatchewan. What, if we could shift to kind of any stories come to mind, maybe it's that hunt, but any stories come to mind with what you've just spoken about, being so intentional with getting the youth and people that are just unexperienced in the outdoors, getting them into that. Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, there's a lot that comes to mind there. One is when we first started, the year we did the local TV stuff. We had one of the radio stations in Charleston, 97.5, do this like Duck Dynasty theme like with this. And they did a giveaway and take somebody turkey hunting and film it for the show. And this mom won it. And she wanted to know if her kid could go. And so her kid was, I don't know, he was a teenager, 15, 13, something like that. No, he was probably 15. It's been 13 years ago. But we took him turkey hunting. He didn't get a turkey, unfortunately. We heard some and saw one. I think one of the birds caught and moved. But good hunt, right? Never heard from the kid again. Fast forward to a couple years back, we're in South Carolina and we're down there, and I go down and hunt with an outfitter down there. And he says, there's a kid coming up here. He's in his 20s. Said he had saw that you guys were coming down here, and he called and wanted to hunt at the same time. So this kid, when we took him turkey hunting as a teenager, he'd never been hunting, right? Never hunted. Now this kid's in his mid-20s, comes down to South Carolina. As soon as I saw him, I knew who he was. But now he hunts. He tries to travel all over and hunt. He goes like on a Western hunt every year. And I'm like, that's so cool, man. His first time ever hunting, we took him, and that's like, and he's going to have kids and take his kids, and that's pretty neat just to think that all started like that.
Yes. Amen. It is. And it's, the thing that is sad in what we're doing is that it is unfortunately, and Kenny, I'd love to, we'll bring you back on and talk about this other topic of, I hear a lot of noise in the hunting industry that, and I listen to the We Are Hunter guys and a lot of guys that talk at length about the DNR and people that report data state that we have less hunters every year. Like that's what I'm hearing. And part of me doesn't believe that, number one. Part of me doesn't believe that because I think there's just a ton of hunters still, and we have issues with access and all the things that, come along with the challenge to, like you even alluded to, the challenge to have good private ground anymore is harder than it's ever been because of people's access to data and access to information. Do you, Kenny, do you believe that we are losing, and this isn't a right or wrong answer, this is just conversation. Do you believe we are or are not losing hunters?
100% we are.
So 100%. I think that as well. So then where does the divide build between access issue and we're losing hunters?
I think, we're losing hunters for sure. Just coaching youth sports. I mean, I remember, growing up, like majority of the kids, hunted, right? Like, you go to school, a bunch of other kids hunt. I'm coaching youth sports now, and I think we got one other kid on the football team that hunts outside of my son. In his school, he's just like, we'll talk about it. No one else hunts. Like it is like, and I think for our kids and even in the certain youth sports, I think we're losing kids. And I think that part comes from the social media, from phones, from iPads. There's less kids playing backyard football. I think this next generation is going to be tough. And for me, like there's more people every day. That number of people who are against hunting is growing.
100%.
The number 100%. Of hunters, I think, is decreasing, and not in every area. And I don't think like it's decreasing drastically yet. My worry is that the kids now that are just being born to 15, like that group, right? Where are they when they're 20 to 35? That's when I feel like we're going to see that huge, drastic decrease. Because I think what we're seeing now is not big in older hunters, but there's definitely less youth hunters being involved. And if we want to keep the sport alive, you got to just think a lot of things that and I'm not going to get into politics, but a lot of things that the majority of Americans, I think, look at as common sense. That if you were some of the things going on now, if you would have said 20, 25 years ago that was a thing, regardless whether you were Democrat or Republican, you'd have been like, that's insane, right? So there are things that little by little that I think certain rights are getting taken away. And hunting is one that I feel like, I hope it never does. I don't think it ever will. I don't see it ever happening, but I'm going to do my part to make sure we try to get more kids involved so we have more people to fight for that right later on down the road.
Yeah, amen. I mean, that's just so true because I listened to the We Are Hunter guys had Mike Rex on a while back on the podcast, and largely the debate with Mike Rex, and Mike is either the president or he's a big timer at the Ohio Wildlife Council, which is kind of a lobbying group that I'm going to butcher all this, but the DNR leans on Mike and his constituents to help make decisions, about regulations. And so the big debate that they had Mike on there, there's a point to all this. This was the chilling, takeaway I had is Mike and the We Are Hunter guys talked at length about the debate between baiting and, should we remove baiting and all these things. And so the spin that Mike gave that really opened my eyes, because I'm a huge proponent of, I'd love to get rid of baiting. I think it's the great equalizer. You heard it here first. I have some of the biggest feeders I've ever seen in my life. I have a 7,500 pound feeder at one of my farms. So like, people would say, well, you bait. Yeah, because you do too. Like I do it because you do. I would love to not. That's why I'm getting a farm in Illinois, because you can't bait and you can't even put minerals out. Everybody's even, right? But They started talking about that. But what Mike brought up that you just said, Kenny, and I want you to hear it from a guy who's intimately involved in this stuff, is Mike said the hunting front is very ununified. We're very separated. We're very spread apart. We're very much in our own campuses. You hate crossbows. I hate crossbows. You love crossbows. I hate. You want this. You want that. You want a longer season. You don't want rifles. We want rifles. You want a straight wall cartridge. We don't want it. We're very divided in our own little miniature campuses. And what Mike said that was so bone chilling to me was, the campus that is against hunting, which is insurance lobbyists who just don't want to pay out deductibles on cars, are very unified. The campus against hunters is very unified. The campus inside the hunting world is very disorganized. And so we can complain about baiting or crossbows or ladder stands or cell cameras or whatever you want to say. You can debate about any of it. And we can all cry and get mad. We're just one box in what they're trying to vote on to nix or change, or hey, lobbyists say we have too many deer, so we're gonna increase the deer harvest numbers. We're gonna let you shoot $7 this year because we had too many insurance claims for cars. And it was chilling to hear Mike say, if we take away baiting, right? And this is close this dumb loop here. If we take away baiting, you lose. Unfortunately, you lose a big portion of the hunting world. You will, because you'll have the guy who has 5 acres who says, if I can't bait, I just won't hunt because my neighbor has 200 acres of food plots and he's this whitetail amazing celebrity Kenny Davis and I can't compete against him because he has all this stuff. So if I can't put out a corn pile, then I just won't hunt. And when you lose him, you lose a vote. And we can't afford to lose votes. So it was wild, Kenny, like stepping back of like, I have my opinion, right? And you may have yours and you have yours. And we can say they're not wrong. Everyone can have your opinion. That's great. What we need to work on is being unified to know that no one cares what our opinion is on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
They just don't. It was scary. It was scary for him saying we are losing hunters every year. We are losing hunters. And when we lose hunters, we lose votes. And we lose votes, we lose. Big time. We just lose. Mm-hmm. We just lose. So anyway, sorry we went down that, but Kenny.
Sorry, man. I don't understand.
It speaks to what you just said, though. You are doing the right job. The point of all that is you guys are doing the right job, that had you and I not had people in our lives who were intentional with getting us hooked on the outdoors, where is it going to go? Where is it going to go? And I don't know. I take it strongly because it's really inspirational, Kenny, to hear your story. And I mean this. Like, if we were offline, I'd be saying this the same way, that all of us listening, if we love hunting and we love hearing Kenny's story about killing a big deer, or we want to know how successful he is in Saskatchewan this fall, we want to share our own big deer story and we love it. And we all wish we could go flip the tailgate down at the local gas station and check him in like we used to, right? We all love that, okay? Well, we have an equal duty to this sport to be vocal for it by continuing to educate and get people into the sport. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's selfish if we don't.
Well, and the division part you mentioned doesn't help.
No.
It doesn't help when kids are on social media and they see a guy with, a nice little 2-year-old 8-point and they're like, oh, that's awesome. And then there's 200 comments about, oh, you should have let it, you should have waited, you should have let it go, you should have let it, whatever. It'd been a nice one next year. And then, these kids that are growing up in West Virginia, I would say 95% of them, they can hunt all year and they're never going to see 130 or 140 inch deer, not even get eyes on one. So they keep getting up, they're going sitting in the cold and their dad's telling them, well, you can't shoot that deer, or they're worried they can't shoot that deer because somebody's going to make a negative remark and they feel like they have to shoot this giant. There's a chance I think they're just going to give it up. Like, I'm going to sit at home on my iPad or my video games, right? Or talk to my buddies on the phone. I'm not going to do this anymore. So I think, those negative comments, I think what you said was right on, right? That nothing's wrong. I mean, if you don't want to shoot a small buck, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Your standard is your standard.
And you shoot a spike, and there's 9 out of 10 hunters listening to this will be like, well, why don't you just let them shoot a doe? Or don't shoot a spike. Look, if they want to shoot a spike, let them shoot a spike. I'll say that because I hunt public land a lot. I've hunted public land where I've sat all day and didn't see a deer. I've hunted 2 days, and the only deer I saw was a 4-point. What about that hunter that he doesn't bow hunt? He gets to rifle hunt and he gets 2 days to rifle hunt and he hunts on public land. I'm sorry, but if that guy wants deer meat and he sees a 4-point, that might be the only deer he sees. Yep. But at the end of the day, if it makes him happy, like, it doesn't matter what you think, right? If it makes him happy and he does it legally and ethically, that's all that should matter. Like, why does your opinion, because you're this big macho man, egotistical hunter, why does your opinion matter? It doesn't matter for that guy. And so you shouldn't even state your opinion. Like, that drives me nuts. And I think we push people away from the hunting industry because of that. I think they're adults probably like, I'm tired of these guys like that. I'm just not even hunting anymore. Screw it, man. I can't even go enjoy it without people saying this and that. Yep. Just, if you have a negative comment about somebody hunting, if they're doing it legally and ethically, just keep it to yourself. Like, it's that simple. Quit being a keyboard warrior because you're not doing anything good. You're causing more diversion. That's probably the one thing that drives me the most nuts. That's why I try to stay off of it and not read that stuff, because I can't stand people that are like that. Like, look, I kill big bucks and I hunt big bucks and I pass on small deer, but there's going to come a time when, that 4-point got my heart pumping. I'm going to shoot the dang thing, right?
And honestly, Kenny, I would advocate for. There probably needs to come a time for that in a lot of people's lives, including myself, because I'm like you. I love the chase. I eat tag soup a lot. And, people will say, well, you don't kill a lot of big bucks. Well, because I set a standard to myself that's sometimes unattainable. Newsflash, I learned about 3 years ago, apparently, if you only want to shoot a 165.5-year-old deer plus, you should actually hunt where they live. And if one doesn't live on your farm and you just put the time in, that's the literal definition of insanity. That is not fun. And that's what gets people out of the game. That's what gets them out of the game. Like, so if you don't have a 160 to hunt and that's your threshold, that's a dumb idea already, because you're going to be disappointed. I really think I keep mentioning Chris Brackett. We had a phone conversation a while back, like 3 or 4 months ago. And, Chris, we were talking about something in Illinois, and he said literally he thinks the future of the hunting industry is literally going back to where a dude is going to buy some land. He's going to buy some land with his sons. They're going to go out there. They're going to run some SD card trail cameras. They're going to shoot 120-inch bucks, and they're going to have the times of their lives. And that is okay. That's good. It's pure. It's holy. It's great. Because, Kenny, we got started on that. And like Braden, who's listening on this podcast, Braden, I've watched him as a youth pull back his first, bow that wasn't tuned and out of time and all this stuff on a really big buck in Ohio at a water hole. We probably did it wrong because he shouldn't be shooting that anyway. It didn't help him start like we started. I shot a yearling buck for my first deer. I literally scared it to death. My grandpa had to shoot it. I literally scared it to death and it fell over. Well, what are we doing if we tell some other guy, whomever, or 8-year-old or 80-year-old getting into the sport, that they're wrong by doing that when we had the same journey? We had the same trajectory. Why are we not giving it to someone else? Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. This whole rant we've gotten on, just the scariest thing is, like you've said and we've identified, is that we are not unified as a hunting group. We're not. No. And it's almost like we've all picked our NFL team or our college football team. We've all picked our team, and let's say it's NFL. We've all picked our NFL team, and what we don't realize is the NFL as a whole is in jeopardy. You can pick your team until you're blue in the face. It's not going to help the argument. The argument is at a level above that. Yeah. It's not at the crossbow versus bow. It's not at how long the gun season is or whether there's a rifle season in the rut. It's not. That isn't the argument. The argument is people that don't care about hunting are lobbying against us while we're ununified, yelling about whether we should have cell cameras or not. Mm-hmm. We're going to lose. We're just going to lose. And it's like, it's sad because we don't even see it sometimes, Yep. And I'm embarrassed to admit, but I've changed my ways. So I've been that keyboard warrior at a younger age. Like, you should have let that deer grow.
I was too.
Well, because that's what we all tried to imitate the guys who were being that, well, what a manager you are. You shouldn't have let that, I love Morgan Wallen. Listened to a song the other day, neighbor still shooting last year's deer. Dude, we hear it. We hear it all the time. So we say it because we think it's cool.
Yep.
It's only cool until it's your son who needs to shoot a deer, and now you're about to get him publicly shamed for the same stuff that you went out there and ranted about. So I've changed my ways. I truly have. 4 points for the win.
I was the same way. There was a period there, probably my late 20s into my early 30s.
Yep.
And but I started to see how it was ruining hunting and how much division it was creating. And at the end of the day, like, landowner, right? You get mad because the bordering landowner kills a buck that you had passed on 3 times. So then I would have been like, dang man, I passed on that deer, multiple times. He'd have been a good one next year. Now I'm going to shake his hand and say, dude, congrats. That's awesome. I'm not going to tell him I passed on that deer. He doesn't need to know that. I don't need to boost my ego by telling him, oh, I could have shot that deer and I didn't. Right. That deer may be the same trophy for him now as it would have been for me next year. Right. Yep. And I think a lot of times, like even West Virginia, people wanting to go to reduce the buck limit in West Virginia. It is not, to me, and everybody's going to argue with me on this, it's a selfish reason. It's very selfish because the guys that want that reduced, they want it reduced so they can kill bigger bucks. Right? So they can kill bigger bucks. But what about the guy that wants to shoot 3 bucks a year? Like, is the fact that he wants to shoot 3 6 points a year, is that less than not important? Because you want to kill 1 big buck a year. Yeah. It's to me,
it's a secondary issue to the
everybody just hunt the way you want to hunt, but do it legally and ethically and have fun and don't bash up. That's that simple. Like hunting is that simple. That's the division. You cure it, you fix the problem. If you just hunt how you want to hunt and don't bash other people for how they hunt if they're doing it legally. It's easy problem to fix, but we have too many hunters with egos. We have too many macho men guys out there and too many people that just they're worried about their own and want to make themselves look good.
Yeah, dude. Last rant on that topic, and we'll jump to something less heated so we can both calm down here. We're ready to go punch a wall, but I experienced a new bitterness last year that I didn't think I would experience, and I really had to check myself on it because there was just so much emotion going into why I was getting bitter. I chased a buck on my farm, I'd call my home farm, family farm. This buck was a Boone and Crockett 5.5-year-old deer, the epitome of what you would want to create and build. And I had his sheds to the year prior. I had built bedding for this deer. We named this deer. He got his eye knocked out the year prior, and we called him Cyclops because he was a one-eyed deer. And I mean, he's just... We chased this deer. My stepdad and I chased this deer. Not as hard as we should have. I actually had a bigger deer to hunt, and I slept on this deer. But long story short, when we got really serious with hunting this deer, we were always like 100 yards off. And I had a picture of the deer, I don't know, 9th, 10th of November on our farm, 8:30 in the morning with the doe. And it was like, all right, this is like, we're still after this deer. Like, he's still playing cat and mouse with us. And that deer was killed by a youth hunter in Ohio with a gun over a bait pile with an outfitter. Hunters from New York. And the outfitter admitted after I found it out, because my neighbors messaged me like, hey, dude, I'm not, you might want to go stand over a trash can, but Cyclops is dead. This happened. And I was like, well, okay. And, I felt this bitterness welling up in me. Like, so number one, there's an outfitter on my border. I didn't know that. Number two, this person, they admitted in Facebook they didn't even have a picture of the deer. I have thousands in 3 years of history. Number three, a youth hunter shot it probably over a bait pile with a gun from out of state, got drove in there the night before and kills the deer. It was bitter. You know what I mean? Like, it hurt. Yeah. It was like, dude, what is happening? And I was bitter. And I had to step back and say, you know what? Number one, the outfitter blew me off. I wanted to congratulate this is part of the problem, but I wanted to congratulate the hunter. Like, hey, I have hundreds of pictures. I'd be willing to give him an SD card full of pictures. I'd give him the shed to the deer the last year. I'd like to congratulate him, whatever. Wouldn't even let me connect with them. No, they already headed home. So you have this high grading in the industry that's happening that is a complete disconnect from what the real story should be. Of, if I was that hunter, I would love to know and see the pictures and see the deer the year prior, have the shed, hear your stories, all these things. So that never happened. And I had to back up and realize there's a dad who took his daughter hunting out of state to have a beautiful time. And they had a beautiful time. And they were successful. and they are no less worthy than you are.
Yeah.
Now, do I like it? No.
Yeah, it is tough when you put in that much time on a deer.
Do I like it? No. But it doesn't make their vote against the problem that our hunting, that we have. It doesn't make their vote any less worthy than my vote. It doesn't. And I really had, that took months. That took months of it is what it is, They don't know what that deer, they don't know they probably don't even know the deer didn't have one eye. I don't know. Who knows what they knew? They just shot the deer. Who even knows? But it is what it is. That's what it is at the end of the day, right? You can't avoid it. So I've had to, it's fun to debate baiting or crossbows or this or that, but then it's like, wait a second, now I can debate something new. Is it any less fair that someone paid for an over-the-counter tag in Ohio and then walked in that morning and shot a deer that I'd chased for 3 years? Is it any less fair? We're all going to have our issues. Are we going to stay unified?
Yep.
All right. So, end of rant. It's apparent Kenny and I have thought about hunting once or twice, but let's talk about some legacy stuff, some less heated stuff, Kenny. I always love asking any person who comes on with me and is willing to talk and share stories like you have. I've heard it kind of. I feel like I've felt the heartbeat of what has shaped your career, and it's so similar to so many people's story that generations before you helped shape where you are today. When you think of the word legacy, and when we talked before we started recording, that I sometimes hate the word legacy because it's just watered down. It's just overused. It's blah. I'm determined to make legacy pure. With whatever I leave on this earth, I'm determined to make that word pure. When you think of legacy, Kenny, what or who or just what wells up in you? What comes to mind?
Yeah, I think it's a good word. I think sometimes, that word, the meaning behind that word, and when someone leaves something behind, whether it's something or they instill something in someone, whatever it is, that is special and it carries on. Like that person may be gone, but it carries on. Like it carries on as long as that legacy carries on. They're always there. They're always part of it. And for me, is my dad and the small piece of land we have in Gilmer County, West Virginia. I was telling you earlier we didn't have much, and my dad, he would hunt with one of his buddies that had property near there, and found out about this piece of land that people from Maryland owned, and they hadn't been on it in years. It was grown up, looked awful, 36 and a half acres, and they were from Maryland, and they were spotlighting deer. They got in trouble. Basically, the DNR told them not to come back, and so this has been. Let's see, I'm 42, so I was 11, so it's been 31 years ago. My dad calls them and offers them $6,500 for 36 and a half acres. And, he had to get a loan for it. Still, he didn't have that, but he got the land for 36 and a half acres. And for the next we hunted it every year.
So they took his offer.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So I don't even. What's the math on that? I'm gonna have to do some math here. That's not a lot per acre.
No. He sells for way more than that now, which we never would. But every summer, every weekend, we were up there outside of if hunting season was in, we were there hunting. Hunting season wasn't in, we were there.
$178 an acre.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you pay that to lease places now.
Oh, dude, I was getting ready to say that's okay.
So we spent so much time up there, and I hated it because it was so much work, and I wanted to be hanging with my friends, but it was, cutting brush, cutting trees.
Stuff you didn't understand at that point.
Building a cabin, like the whole 9 yards, and, finally we had it to where, it was like, we have about this, the areas now that are food plots, about 5 acres of it is like these rolling meadows. Like it's kind of halfway up on the mountain though. So it's not like completely flat. It's all got a grade to it. But yeah, we just lots of memories up there. A lot of great stories. Like just most of my hunting memories, a lot of them come from up there. Some really good ones, some really funny ones. And that to me, like Dad left that and he always said, this place is never to be sold. He wanted to make sure his grandkids had a place to enjoy. and it was an area where we had never killed a lot of really big bucks up there. My dad killed one that was around 130 inches, an 8-point that was around 125, and then
that's a big deer for that area.
There was a deer that was another 9-point that was around the probably low 130s mark that was harvested there. So fast forward to 2 years ago, my son, he was 9 at the time, in the food plots on back-to-back days, he kills an 8-point that went over 140 and a 10-point at 140, back-to-back days. 2 biggest bucks that we've ever killed up there. He shot the 8-point, which I'd been hunting this 8-point. I'd hunted him the 2 previous years, and he was 142, I think, when he killed him. He was bigger the previous 2 years. He was definitely 6. For whatever reason, he lost a little bit. Huge brows, like his brows were like this. Big, they went up and curved. Big tines, good mass, just incredible 8-point. But he went up and helped with the food plots that summer. And then we started getting pictures, and he's like, "Dad, those are my deer." So so those were his. And the food plot where they were coming into a lot, we had like these rocking chairs on the front porches. So we don't stay in the cabin anymore. Like, it's because we hunt there. Like, the cabin where the food plots are, it's the best place to hunt. So we just park at the bottom of the mountain, walk in. So I put his blind on the front porch. So it's got a roof over on the front porch, but it was cool because the rocking chair my dad always sat in was right beside the blind.
Nice.
So he shoots that 8-point. It was a little high and back a little, so we waited till the next morning to go recover it, and he had to miss school, and he didn't have football practice that evening, so I was like, "You already missed school, we might as well hunt this evening." So then the 10-point comes in that evening, and he kills it. So I'm like, back-to-back days, this lucky kid, but, I'm just thinking like how much that would have meant to my dad and that place. So that land is really special. And I think any time that you have your own land and you can create memories on that land, and you create memories with someone, and then you pass it down to them, and then they have those memories. I think it's one of the coolest things about owning land. Not, big bucks is great, managing it, but it was interesting you said that word, because as soon as I heard legacy and land, that's what it made me think of. And I think,
yes, sir,
he definitely left a pretty good legacy.
Yes, sir. And that's what's so amazing, is everybody's story and everybody's version is different. And that's because there's no wrong word. There's no wrong way. So, all right, I got another deep question, and then we're jumping to some fun questions, and I'll let you go, and I'm going to do the same. I've got to head out and do some deer stuff. I don't know if you ever thought about deer hunting Kenny, but I'm kind of into it, so I'm going to go and spray some plots and start putting a blind together and stuff. But anyways, one more deep one, and I haven't asked this one to every guest, but I feel like this would be something that you could wrestle with here live with us. When you kick the bucket, Kenny, when the last day is here, what do you want to be remembered by? What do you want people to say about you?
Good father, good dad. I think that, to me, that's the most important job I have in this world, is being a good father, and just overall good person, honest, integrity. That stuff's important to me. All these. You can't see them all these big bucks and the TV show and accomplishments. Man, that is, you can't take that with you when you're gone. None of it goes with you. You never really own anything when you're here. No matter what it is, it always goes to someone else, or it gets trashed when you're gone, regardless of what it is.
Yep.
But the one thing you can leave that's lasting is how you impact other people. And I think in life, everyone should have that goal, is, we should try to positively impact other people. And if we can, if when we're dead and gone, if people look back, man, he was a really, really good guy. Like, man, or my kid's really successful because my dad raised me right, or part of it, that's what's most important to me. I don't care about how big of a truck I drive, or how nice of a house I have. It's the impact that we make on others.
I agree. And it's the hardest one to chase. It is. I mean, you can buy a big house, you can buy a big truck, you can buy great deer hunts, you can buy The hardest one to chase only comes from your heart.
Yep.
It only comes from your heart. It really does. It's a labor of love. So I got these are easier ones. We talk, we could spend obviously hours and hours and hours, but these are fun ones. These are some rapid fire hunting-isms, and then we're going to call this one a wrap. What is, and you're not, I haven't told any of these to Kenny yet, so this is hitting him, right off the hip here. What's one piece of hunting gear you absolutely wouldn't leave the truck without? And I'm talking, and you've probably been there, where you get to your stand and you're like, oh crap, I forgot this, and you would walk a mile back to the truck. Like, what's one piece that comes to mind?
For me, the camera. 100% the camera.
I was waiting on that one. Yeah.
The camera.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, Kenny, you could dive deeper in that, because there are guys that kind of film, and there's guys that like to self-film and like try to get their stuff on film. But if they forgot the camera, they're still going to go hunt. Yeah. It's a commitment.
It is. Now, the only thing that there's only been two things that I've ever forgotten that I actually did walk back a mile probably to my vehicle to get. My quiver with my arrows and my release. Like, that's happened with both. So now I always, because I'm more likely to forget my release, try to always put it on my wrist, but I always have an extra one in my pack now in case that happens.
Me too.
But the arrows, I've done that twice with my arrows, where I haven't put my quiver on my bow, and I walked in and I just forgot them. I had to go back.
Yep. Okay. We have all this technology and all these new things that continue to come out. I mean, our sport, I think, is just a lot like everything else, that the world of technology is just rapidly advancing. So when you think of, maybe, let's just even say, and I had to quantify this, let's say the last 2 to 5 years, you could say a decade, but so much has entered the hunting space in a decade. What is one thing in the last handful of years that you think has made the biggest impact on your success?
For me, like, I honestly, I can't think. I don't know if it was launched in the last 5 years, but I probably started utilizing it a lot more in the last 5 years, and it's definitely helped, and it's Onyx.
Okay.
Some of the big coal company land that I hunt on, some of the public land that I hunt, it's huge. It's nice. Like, just, you can mark your tracks, you can mark your stands. I mean, everywhere you go, you can track it and you can save it. So when you pull up the map, it shows everywhere you've been, everywhere you scouted. You can mark places you want to go, and going into new areas blind. You can, I mean, once you're out there enough and you learn the terrain and you learn how to read those maps, you can almost, not always, but you can pick some of the best spots just by using the map. And your stand may not be the exact location where you have it pinned on there, but usually it's going to be 60, 70 yards. At least for me, it has been. Some areas you go in, it's like, dang, it's not what I thought.
Yep. But I know what you mean. You can cover a lot of ground on the app.
Just for your scouting, hanging stands, cameras, everything, it has been probably the one thing that has increased success a lot, and I would hate to not have it now that I have used it.
I got you. Sounds like there's some fun going on over there. Kenny's I don't know, you got to put any fires out over there? Sounds like there's I can hear some laughing or hollering or whatever, but I love it.
That's my son. I told him to be quiet over the podcast. That's my 11-year-old.
Listen, I told Kenny before we started, my family tries to leave the house before I do mine because they know better that they could not be quiet for 2 hours. So he's fallen victim of the same thing. All right, 2 more questions and we'll let you be. I got a feeling you're not a go-to gas station snack guy, but if you were a go-to gas station snack guy or whatever, what is it? What's the go-to?
The first thing that comes to mind would probably be Swiss roll.
The Swiss roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I try not to get those too much, but yeah, those are pretty good.
Well, Kenny, as we age, I'm sure you resonate with this. You have to pay attention to what you eat more when you're our age than what we used to. I used to eat like Braden and just eat anything. It didn't matter how processed it was, didn't matter, and I was fine. And now I'm like, well, I definitely know I drank a pop because I feel like I could fall over. And so I'm not a big gas station person anymore. It's probably more like a First Form protein bar or trail mix or, whatever, jerky. What's playing in your truck on the way to the stand?
That's a big variety. Like my playlist,
I'm with you.
like,
and I'm a podcast guy, so sometimes mine's a podcast, and that's boring for people.
It's music, and whoever's in my truck will be like, man, how do you go from like Dr. Dre to George Strait?
Very organically.
And, then the CCR and AC/DC. Like my playlist is all over the place. I like such a big variety of music. But
so is it
it's
general
weird,
pump up, or you have a superstitious song, or
no, I don't. I don't have like a specific song.
You're not Eye of the Tiger, right when you pull up to the gate or anything.
No, that one. I do like that song, but that one would be a little. I don't know.
Shut the radio off. Yeah. I'm not. To quote the great Michael Scott, I'm not superstitious either, but I'm a little stitious. So, I don't know that I have a theme song either. It's usually a podcast. Anybody that gets in my vehicle usually knows I don't listen to much music anymore. I guess I shouldn't say I never do, but I have a lot of windshield time. You're probably a lot like me. I have a lot of windshield time. So I just prefer podcasts.
Yeah. I'm the guy that if I'm listening to the radio and like sometimes a chick song that comes on, like I'll be the guy driving down the road and I don't even know why. Like, dude, I'm just singing it, man. And then
you're getting it.
Cars are like, people are looking at me like, what's this guy doing? I'm like, oh, if they only knew what I was singing right now, change the station.
So this may be a long last question, but maybe it's not. And it does not have to be a biggest deer, but what's your most memorable hunt and why?
To me, that's easy. And I was in Kentucky. I took my son. He was 8 years old, which he's killed, I think, 16 turkeys now over the past 5 seasons. And only one's been in the blind. They were all like ridge top running guns. And mostly public land. We were in Kentucky. The kid's 8 years old. It was super cold, like 26 degrees that morning. We walking all morning, and I just haven't heard any bird. Public land. First time I'd ever been there. We talked about Onyx. That's kind of how I found the ridge on Onyx, parking spot. And we finally get on some birds, and he kills one. And I've always been, since I started taking him hunting, and anytime I take kids hunting, I talked a little bit about this earlier. I try to get them to understand the creation and the connection with God, and the hunt's fun, and you harvest an animal, it's fun, but pay respect to the animal. You're taking, you're taking the life of an animal created by God. So he gets this turkey. When we got back to the car that morning, it was 4.9 miles, but on the way back, we had to climb this hill because we had to go down and cross a hollow to get to them. We're climbing the hill, and I'd make him try to carry, he's only 8, try to carry the turkey a little bit, then I'd carry it, and he's like, Dad, can I sit on this log and take a break? And I'm like, yeah. And I try to watch him and just, observe him and see what he's doing. And he's just sitting there, he's looking around. He's looking around, he's looking at the sky. And he looks back at me and he says, Dad, isn't the wilderness wonderful? I was like, it is, buddy. He said, yeah, it's, cool. He said, God's creation is awesome. And I'm like, at 8 years old, I felt like, just to me as a father, teaching, no matter what he's harvested, like that moment that I felt like he got it, like it, the part outside of harvesting an animal, like at that young of an age, his brain was able to process that, and I could see it, as he was looking around. And for me, it had nothing to do with the turkey he killed. It was just the moment. That is by far, I'll never forget that moment in my whole life. I mean, he may, I don't know, but I'll never forget that. And to me, it's probably it's more special than his first deer, more special than any deer I've ever harvested. It was awesome, and I'll never forget it.
That's the definition of legacy. Yeah. And success, success is, like you just said, it's so subjective. It's not all the deer that are behind you. It's the instillment in him that you won that day. Yeah. You won. Dude, that's awesome. This has been fun. I really appreciated getting to know you. Obviously, to me, it's insane. We haven't directly crossed paths. So if you want to come to Ohio and hang out, hit me up. Let's do it. And I'm usually in West Virginia a couple, 3, 4, 5 times a year. So I may have to do the same for you. But how do guests connect with Kenny? How do they get a hold of you? And then we'll let you go.
So To get a hold of us directly, the easiest way is just Whitetail Frenzy, going on our Facebook or our Instagram. The show's running right now on Pursuit Channel here, Wild TV in Canada, Carbon TV. We just recently, too, started launching consistent content on YouTube. So we've got a lot of content on YouTube.
Amazing.
A lot of just DIY, do-it-yourself kind of stuff, too. A lot of hunts from West Virginia, hunting what we like to call mountain bucks a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody who wants to get in contact with us, they have questions, they want to reach out, just you can message us through Instagram or Facebook.
I love it. Dude, thanks for being with me. This one's been fun. It's just this trending theme that it doesn't matter who you talk with and what different walks of life there are that come inside the space of the outdoors. But, you know, Dave says it best, go outside, look inside. And that's just what's drawn us. And I know for me, it's what's kept me a hunter as long as it has and as long as I'll ever live, because everything around me continues to change. And that space is pure, and it's where God talks to me the best. So it's been great getting to hear that from you and just seeing the same perspective, different version. Dude, appreciate it. Good luck this season. Good luck on all your hunts. We'll have to keep track and maybe bring you back on if you've got a success story we can talk about.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Agreed, man. The pleasure has been mine. Talk to you guys next week. We'll see you.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you're finding value in this content, we'd love to hear from you. It'd mean a lot if you could share with us how this podcast is helping you on your journey and let us know of any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Be sure to connect with us on all social platforms at Legacy Acres Land Co. and subscribe to stay updated on when new episodes drop. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll see you next week.